So what should we use bog paper for? So we use bog paper to go to and learn about fiat money, the current system.
Fiat, I mean, there's a phrase that you never heard even 5 years ago. Fiat currency. Fiat currency just means
printed.
What should we do? I think there are various measures that we can take, which are outlined on bog paper. The obvious one to me is to buy gold, and the reason I say that is because gold holds real value in times of inflation. B, if things go really tits up, as they might well do, I mean, as happened in Weimar Germany with hyperinflation, that gold is very good for trading. So I think you should hold some physical gold in the form of bars or whatever, or obviously not in your home.
No, in the safe vault.
Through something like the real asset company, which you can use like a bank, and probably is safer than a bank, and you keep a few gold coins
and silver coins.
And silver coins as well. Absolutely. That would be the first thing. It depends how pessimistic you want to get. I think actually that it makes sense to store, 2 or 3 weeks worth of food supplies.
Dry foods and fresh foods, vegetable patch.
Well, that would be. Depends how bleak you want to get, but I think that actually one should be, be like make like the Boy Scouts, be prepared. Because the longer this goes on, the uglier the bloodbath is going to be when it comes about. I don't see any way around this one.
So in the meantime, we just fingers crossed that there's some kind of magical solution, which we suspect there isn't. But in the meantime...
Yeah, I wonder what the magical solution would look like. Because it seems to me that the solution being proposed by the Euro elite is that we hold the Eurozone nations together by increasingly tight regulation, effectively creating this sort of European superstate run by technocrats like Mario Draghi, and where Gauleiters from Germany are parachuted into Athens to run their economy for them. Now, this makes absolute perfect sense if you ignore the fact that there are human beings involved. And once you accept, which I think most people would, that Greeks are not Germans and never will be Germans, even in a decade's time of strict Teutonic discipline, the Greeks still will be Greeks.
Yeah.
It seems to me to make sense that the centre cannot hold, that the Greeks will react rather angrily to this. Jeremy Warner, the Telegraph economist and blogger, came back from Davos saying he'd been on a table with these Greek businessmen who, to a man, had said, this is what we need. There cannot be any other way. We Greeks are such spendthrifts that unless we have strict German discipline imposed on us from on high, Greece will never recover. Well, that may be the theory, but that discounts the views of all the Greeks.
Yeah, it's not
who
very
have to endure this system, which they are constitutionally incapable of doing. I would suggest. What is actually happening by this this ever closer union that they're creating, this political and economic union, is that countries like Greece and Spain and Portugal and Italy, the pigs and Ireland, are being denied the opportunity which would have normally been granted them when they had their own currency, which is to devalue their way out of trouble.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think a lot of us could really use right now a cheap holiday in Greece or Spain, but because they have the euro, you go to Greece and Spain, and you find that actually it's as expensive as going anywhere. And you know, if you went to Germany, well, that doesn't make sense. That's denying those heavily tourist-reliant economies a valuable revenue stream, and that seems unfair.
Yeah, extremely.
Wrong. So, no matter how determined the EU technocrats are to keep the show on the road, I think that human nature will prevail.
Which actually is quite a strong part of Austrian economics, I think, and that's why it particularly attracts me, is because it's about people. Whereas a lot of, it takes people's actions into account, whereas a lot of Keynesianism and neoclassical approaches, and as we see today, they don't think that people are going to react in a certain way, kind of this model says that this is going to happen, so therefore this will work. They don't take into account different cultures and different behaviours, history, how people have behaved in the past.
So you think that the Austrian economics is not about models, it's about just observation it's about empiricism.
Yeah, it just looks at kind of history and how people are behaving, and it was actually Dr. Tim Evans that said, economics is about people, and that's very much how Austrian economics looks at it. There's none of this econometrics or anything that goes on in modern approaches to economics.
I must say, I find it a relief meeting somebody like you. I mean, when did you graduate?
This summer, so
this
2011.
Summer. Okay, so you must have been surrounded by people who believed in if they believed in anything, be sort of Keynesian.
Yeah, and I felt very frustrated. It's a bit like you sort of saying you're out in the cold almost, not understanding. But I didn't even really know about Austrian economics because it'd been very briefly mentioned at university and then dismissed very quickly. And I remember being sat there in the second year studying econometrics, going, where are the people? How are they affected?
So all your tutors were.
Yeah.
What?
Keynesian, neoclassical, Keynesian monetarists. Yeah. But this is what blog paper's for. This is for all people like me and that are reading the papers that come from a Keynesian approach, and that's all they've been taught. And so they think that's maybe all that exists, or that's the only right approach.
It's certainly true.
So that's kind of what blog paper's supposed to be there for, is people that are kind of thinking, this doesn't seem to all add up, to turn to and maybe use as a bit of a primer for then going on to Austrian economics, and preparing themselves.
It's a bit like being gay, isn't it? And living in a world where everyone tells you that heterosexuality is the only option, and everything else is just weird and stupid and wrong. And actually, there is another world out there. I don't want to push this analogy too far, but I think we need to show people that actually, when you read a sentence, when you read an expert telling you that if government cuts spending, that will reduce this thing called aggregate demand. And
which, as Detlev shows, isn't necessarily the right way to
do it. And that this will have a deleterious effect on the economy, therefore you cannot cut government spending too hard. When you have people making these ex-cathedra pronouncements that this is the way, you will be able to go to blog paper and realise, well, hang on a second, this is just absolute bollocks. This stuff that we are being told as if it were holy writ is in fact moot at best.
Yeah.
And it does astonish me actually how vast is the establishment which cleaves to the Keynesian view of things, and how tiny the minority of Austrians there are. How little say we have, and we are we are the rebels fighting the Death Star at the moment, and I think people need the opportunity to realise that actually you don't have to have the Darth Vader and his empire ruling things. That their way is not necessarily the true and right way,
or the most beneficial way.
No, exactly. I mean, ultimately, why are we here? We believe in Austrian economics. Ultimately, we believe in people.
And sound money and small government. And
we believe that people should have the right to determine their own future. That if they work hard, that they will reap the rewards for working hard in a healthy economy, which they're being denied at the moment.
Yeah.
So we're the good guys.
We are the good guys. So that's why they should visit Bob.
Yeah. We are the good guys.